Hi everyone, I'm Zoe, and then we have a powerful, amazing lineup from gaming and AI agent space today, and we're going to explore how AI agents are transforming in the gaming space and how they've affected the users' gameplay experiences, new narratives, business and creator models, go-to-market strategies, and outlook. So let's get it started. And first of all, I would like every speaker to have the brief introduction and tell us what tipped you off that AI agent has created real value in gaming and what kind of how do you validate that? And let's start from Jason.
Thanks, Zoe. So, hi everyone. My name is Jason, and I'm the director of gaming from SAY Development Foundation. So, SAY is actually the first parallelized EVM blockchain where we combine the best of both Ethereum and Solana in terms of performance and scalability. So, yeah, that's about SAY. And to answer your question, in terms of AI agent, I think it kind of changed a lot when it comes to gaming perspective. Right now, when people talk about AI agent, when it comes to gaming, a lot of people talk about how these agents can basically be your companion or something like, someone who basically farm things for you guys. So in terms of how we validate the data, people tend to look at the behavior of yourself and then they compare, what are the things that you're likely to do, how do you compare yourself to the rest of the player pool, and basically what are the things that stand out from the rest.
Love to hear that more later. And Renz?
Yeah, hi, I'm Renz, co-founder and CEO of Sovrun. So we used to be heavily involved in games like Axie Infinity, but recently we've dabbled on virtual sports games. For most of you that do not know that, it's simulated real sports, very big in, I guess, like casino and most especially like the West. So what we're doing right now is actually incorporating AI agents into the equation, which is unheard of, right? Like most virtual sports games have only been using RNG or numbers to be able to create their odds as well as like create that illusion of it being like a virtual sports games without it being anything other than like glorified RNG. So I guess like there's a lot of things to be there's a lot of things to actually see here, right? Like to maybe answer your question in a way, right? Like with AI agents, you're now able to treat them as though these are people or athletes that you can vibe with, right? Like much similar to sports betting than I would say virtual sports games. And if you think about it, right? Like now these personalities or these athletes can live outside the platform. You kind of create or modeled like a human, an agent after like a human, and then eventually like this so-called agent can autonomously live outside of the platform that you've created and maybe exist in platforms where, most of us actually are, like maybe social media channels or, other platforms that we've created that allows for digital assets and agents to live on.
You already shared a lot that we're going to talk about. Renz is building something super interesting, so we're going to explore on that part. Thank you so much. And John?
Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, this is John, and I'm the CMO of Project J and co-founder of Gemmy. So Project J is actually an IP licensing platform and trading card game. Gemmy is actually a K-pop focused metaverse. I think both my projects are heavily using AI /AI agents right now. And I think it helps a lot in terms of efficiency and also when we are doing the dynamic narratives of the game. So for example, for Gemmy, we are focusing on the immersive experience of the fan and the celebrity, right? So, AI agents actually helps a lot in terms of writing the persona and the reactions of the avatars. That save a lot of time and resources, which is, normally it's a very non-scalable thing because the narrative writing is very manual. And right now, things became much more scalable, and same for Project J as well, because it's a trading card game, so it requires a lot of thinking, and AI agents and AI definitely helped a lot on that. So I'm very happy right now.
Thank you so much. And Sebastian?
Hello everyone, my name is Sebastian Borget. I'm the co-founder of the Sandbox. It's a decentralized virtual world where anyone can become a creator, make 3D content or full games and experience without any programming skills and truly own them with use of blockchain and NFTs. We've grown as one of the largest metaverse platform with 8 million users, more than 400 major brands and partnership, and we keep on going with launching major seasons and events that brings hundreds of thousands of players into them. To your question, like, what are we doing with agent, or like how we see AI agent impacting gaming more specifically? So I do believe like AI agents have already contributed a lot into like improving the immersion and engagement of users into games and virtual worlds. Specifically, they had more life by populating the experiences, roaming around and having more autonomous quest and conversation with the players and the actual NPCs. So you never feel that alone as you explore those worlds. You also get more diversified quest and mission, and like the experience is being renewed every time you enter. That's most of the common use case that people think when they are implying agent in gaming. But I see two potential things that I haven't seen yet fully explored. One is AI agent as content creators, combining them with, like, we're really into user-generated content. That's our background since 2011. And now you have like AI agents, which are like autonomous beings capable of like programming with vibe coding and launching their own games that then will be discovered by humans or agents. And that will accelerate like content population, the publishing of content on the maps into those virtual worlds, and a lot more gameplay will emerge from that. The other interesting aspect that I like about AI agents in gaming is like how they are contributing to the discovery of game, even outside of the game themselves. Like AI agents are constantly streaming, constantly engaging the audience. They are encouraging users to go and play certain game and distributing rewards for those who participate. So that's also a great way to bring and solve user acquisition. And finally, one other aspect I think it's a little bit underestimated right now is like how those AI agents are also like autonomous traders. So they are buying and selling resource. So far, we've seen mostly like meme coins and ERC20 kind of cryptocurrencies. But for in-game economies, the fact that they could go play, collect specific resources at our scarce, like wood, metal, fire, or other desirable NFTs, and sell them on marketplace, it actually helped to bridge the gap, which is sometimes a requirement into the liquidity that those marketplaces require to have like more balanced supply and demand on the resource and make sure like, well, there is an actual economy even if there's few players participating.
Thanks for your sharing. I also want to ask a follow-up question that you mentioned that some things that you've seen hadn't been like executed yet in the market. Like, how do you is your team working on it, or do you feel like you saw some of the teams already had the plans in motion?
From the few experiments I've seen, like there's one very interesting where they launched 1,000 agents in Minecraft, and they kind of like set rules where they were not necessarily all helping each other, but like antagonists. And it's actually quite efficient into the fact that the agent chose to collect some of the most scarce resources to increase their price, to maximize their profits, instead of like necessarily distributing it better across like the population of users. So it really depends on like, again, like the agents, they follow code basically. So you have to define like what are like certain of the parameters that they need to evolve and what are their intents. And I think it's interesting because you can have like the most aggressive that try to extract as much value as possible, while there will be more collaborative one. Some can be set and created by the game developers themselves to help the gameplay, while some can be developed externally by guild, by maybe hackers who try to get value from those assets of value. And that's, I think, that's going to be a more realistic simulation of like what real world is about at the end of the day. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And Chen said you also have technical background. Like, what's your take on this? Renz?
Sorry.
Yeah, like follow on like what Sebastian say. Do you have any take on this?
I think it's quite interesting. So in our case, aside from Sovrun, we actually have a joint venture with Virtuals to do AIX gaming within Roblox specifically. And I think what's fascinating is that there are games like Grow a Garden, which would be similar to I would say, our play-to-earn era in Axie Infinity, where people are able to actually earn money from buying and selling like seeds or buying and selling like whatever products they have inside, right? And it would be cool to have that automated via an agent that can help you, right? Assess like whether or not market prices are higher here. Is it a time to sell, right? But right now, we're still not yet there in terms of development. We're actually more on the side of companion agents, for example, right? Like, what if there are agents within the platform that mask themselves as like pets, right? And these digital pets can tell you, hey, maybe this is interesting, right? Or you should look at like this particular seed, right? So yeah, I think in general, like we're headed towards that direction, and then it will be an inevitability in terms of where we can take that as part of, something that's already a given in the future games that we will be building as well.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And what about like from, because you help a lot of games projects on Say, and what's your take on this?
I mean, I want to echo the point where Sebastian talked about the value that AI agents is able to bring. But in terms of the value that I see is kind of different from, I think what he's actually inferring. Because when I talk about value for AI agents, it's more like someone who is able to adapt and who is basically able to analyze the data of what the others are doing, right? So in terms of like bringing value, how does this AI agent being able to improve your gameplay in a sense whereby taking potentially like, top players in the world, their data and stuff, interacting with your gameplay, helping you improve as a person, helping you improve as your play style and stuff like that. I think that's part of the things that I feel that AI agent can potentially do even better. And then I think beyond that as well, being able to anticipate, and to give you certain kind of inputs. Like I'll be honest, like I feel that there's a lot of people out here who actually talks to your own AI agent, basically interacting with them, asking them for feedback and thoughts like that. And some people even take their feedback seriously, right? It's not just something like people basically interact for the sake of doing it. It's more like they want to really get an answer, and potentially they feel that this AI agent is able to give them the answer that they want because of the wide data available. This is something that they tend to believe.
I love that. And then, John, I would like to ask, like, besides like what the other speakers mentioned, like, is there any loop or system that you feel like it was not viable before, but it become like workable as a queuable, like after the integration with AI agent in the game?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one thing that I'd like to mention is we call it like the dynamic storytelling or the dynamic narrative. So everything right now, it's very dynamic. What I mean by that is it's reactive to what the user actually give out. So I think that is the true meaning of interaction. Because if without the AI agent thinking by itself or getting the data from the user themselves, some of the interactions might become like meaningless to the users as they couldn't feel the relevancy and couldn't feel the connection. So I'll take an example. So in Jammy, like we're a K-pop metaverse, right? So we work with K-pop stars and we make avatars of them, like walking around in our metaverse and in our game world. So for example, like there's a K-pop group, let's say Blackpink, right? We didn't sign Blackpink though, but I'm saying is they have their own set of persona, right? And they have their own set of dance moves or hand gestures and stuff. So we sort of like instill that into the game and the avatar. So when the user actually interact with them, they feel like they're actually interacting with the real person or the real celebrity. That's one thing. And also that is dynamic, because it changes all the time. Because when, for example, there's a new album coming out, they will come in and sing the new song, and they have new gestures and dance moves and stuff. So I think these things that AI agents actually helped a lot. That manual scripting is basically impossible to do because we have to like keep updating the stuff, and it's different every second, right? So that's for Jamie. For Project J, we're IP licensing platform, but then we do have a trading card game. So the trading card game, it's like a game with a lot of thinking and skills and stuff, and that also applies, with different cards with dynamic storylines and stuff. You need to think very fast to as in like which card you want to put out and win the battle. So yeah, I think that's some of the ways that we can use that, the loops and stuff that, or system that we instilled in our games.
So you mentioned about the NPC persona. Like, how do you train those AI NPC to have like a consistency, but also adapting to the user and the world status?
Right, very good question. Because we work with the real IPs, real management companies, and real Japanese IP companies. So they are sometimes very strict in terms of like, okay, what can my people do, or what cannot my people do? So that's probably the procedure that takes a lot of time. But then we have a very clear sort of like prompts or materials or terms that how we train our AI systems or AI agents. Very clear boundaries, I would say. That's very important. Like, people, the fans, they would do like weird stuff, trust me. Like,
What kind of weird stuff?
Like, I don't want to get too deep into it, but like, kissing and stuff. But then, so we have to set really clear boundaries of what our agents will do or not do. So I think once we get that sorted out and we give the IP companies or the K-pop management companies the peace of mind that nothing weird is going to happen to your people, and we're going to save their reputation. That's the most important. They'll be relieved, and I think that's how the whole cooperation keep going and taking the maximum advantage of the AI agents.
I love that because it's very rare to hear about the entertainment like intertwined with like AI agent gaming. It's very interesting. And then Sebastian, because you've been very experienced in building metaverse, like what's your take on this?
Well, I want to resonate a little bit about what like Jason and John were saying. Like, the AI agent can bring great benefits, but there's also like a hidden cost to all of that. Like all that computing power that's constantly required for ongoing and permanency, it actually has a cost. And so you have to actually see like who's going to bear that cost of like having AI agent running all the time. And so if the AI agent doesn't introduce a business model that's self-sustainable by themselves, it's either the game developer or the platform operator or the user who have to pay. And so far, very few game developers I've found like, why should they pay bills from tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and sometimes more, based on the number of users that they have. It really increases the cost per user. Like you have to count like almost per minute or per hour of usage to bear that cost. And so there's actually very few category of games that have found a successful business model and benefited. They are like the dating simulator. Like basically, they are like simple mobile game or web-based game where like you chat with an agent that's represented by a boy or a girl, and they are like the virtual boyfriend, the virtual girlfriend. And the users, they are ready to pay $99 a year, sometimes more, as a subscription to keep engaging and interacting with those users, which in case support those costs. I found and aside from like agents that can trade assets and earn fees based on that, I've found very few use cases of implementation that were like sustainable enough on the long term to bring real value to the user while not like becoming like a huge drill on the cost for the game developer and then like become maintainable. So Companion, it's been great, but like no one found like, oh, would you pay $10 a month more for your experience to have a companion agent in a game? It's not found yet. Maybe in top MMORPG where you see great value. In having like AI NPCs, I would say, it's balanced. I've seen games where it's like the whole gameplay is like The Sims with all AI. So people buy the game a certain subscription and a premium, and that's okay because it's kind of like an experience like The Sims. But I haven't seen that massive scale again, that kind of adoption and the benefit in-game that justify the cost for the developer. So far, the adoption of AI by game developer in general has been very much focused toward like driving costs down into like content creation, live ops, the production of marketing assets or content for user acquisition, etc. And that has been like a drastic impact on like the jobs and the industry in general, Web 2, Web 3 and non-Web 3, by the way. But we haven't found yet like a step where like AI is fully integrated in the gameplay so seamlessly, and people are ready to cover those costs for it.
I love that. And then Sebastian give a very good context about the new like creator economies as well. So Jason, like you are very good at like helping the project to come up with like a go-to-market strategies. Like how do you like help them to navigate in this space?
Yeah, so before I want to address that question, I want to touch on what Sebastian spoke about in terms of like developers paying for all this AI stuff. I mean, to be completely honest, if I'm a developer, I'll definitely be paying for all this AI data, right? Because the way I look at it, this AI data is definitely going to be very important. Like, this AI is able to, I would say evaluate, and at the same time, define, how does a player behave in the game, right? And potentially, how does this behavior converts to a revenue for these developers? Like as a player myself, there's certain things that a game does will basically incentivize me to basically spend in the game. And basically this is a start of like, a monthly recurring cycle in terms of expenditure and stuff like that. So I think this data for developers is going to be very important. So going back to your question in terms of like creators, like how does this really help them? I mean, same thing, right? Like, AI is able to like, basically determine what kind of content, what kind of creators, what kind of market, will basically, bring more users for all these games, right? So basically, they will be able to see what kind of creators, what kind of content to create, at ease, right? They don't really have to, look at the market, work with an agency or whatnot, all this AI data that's available using reference cases from like, previous, partners or, previous creators. All these things that's out there, basically make things even easier than before.
That's a very helpful way to look at it. Thank you so much. And Renz, I would like to ask, like, besides this, like, is there any revenue streams or like different models that you've seen in the market?
Right. Agents are actually very crucial in what we actually do. If you know, or if you're familiar with anything sports or virtual sports related, right, you know that people actually want to participate, watch, bet, or do anything because of the characters. And in this case, these would be the agent personas, right? So the kinds of agents that we're working with should resonate with a lot of people. And there are two ways to go about it, right? The first way would be influencer-inspired, like agents, right? Patterned after probably real people who has had experience in, say, I don't know, if you're doing like MMA, maybe like in boxing, right? And that already creates a sort of like a affinity towards a user or a watcher to that particular player. The second thing, which I would say is more interesting, and as you said, with regards to additional revenue streams and ways to be creative outside of the usual ones, would be creation of our own like digital personas. In this day and age, people don't really distinguish between something that's real versus something that is perceived to be real, right? What we realize as well is that if most people only interact with these agents or with anyone via digital, then who's to say that an agent is actually fake relative to a person who they have never seen anyway, right? Most people never get to meet their heroes like in real life anyway, so it is as good as real already. Now for these agents, we can be more creative in terms of where we can get like revenue streams for them. Of course, the most obvious ways would be, what if these agents can actually run ads on their own channels, right? On their own platforms. But I think other more creative ways would be, what if like these agents can now accept brand deals as well from different platforms because they have their own cloud, they have their own following, and these followings can turn into potential users who would actually purchase a product. But taking that a step further, and I guess like this is more on the side of what if like eventually agents become part of the entire economy and we are not actually convincing humans to buy, but we are convincing agents to buy, right? Like how then do we actually position ourselves so that, maybe our agents would be the one purchasing for us, but they're purchasing not from other humans, but from other agents as well, right? Like, it could be a way for both agents to kind of think of a way to be able to sell to other agents, but at the same time, be able to, make themselves more marketable.
I love like the prediction, right? So like from the next like 12 to 24 months, like how do you think that AI agent is going to transform the gaming space?
In terms of the gaming space, of course, in terms of development, right, it's going to be way faster. Content has always been the laggard in terms of how we want to fast track like a lot of these things. It's not any different from, say the likes of anime, right, or for any IP for that sort, right? Like it's always content that's been a blocker in terms of people being able to, consume something consume more of something that they actually like, right? So that's one. And I guess like the second thing would really be what he said as well about like maybe dynamic storytelling, right? What if like experiences can be more personalized, right? And it can actually tailor to individual experiences that would be more engaging for as an individual versus like generic storytelling that are basically predetermined and pre-created by the users or the developers of the platform.
That's a lot of strong takeaway for the room. I love it. And then John, like for as the second question applied to you, like in your sectors, how do you feel like the AI agent is going to transform in the entertainment AI space?
Yep. I think in the next like 12 to 24 months, I think mass adoption is inevitable. Like, all the projects and different apps, games are just using AI agents, and it actually does help a lot in terms of like making the whole thing more fun or either like just saving resources. So either way, it's a good thing. Another thing I think is that there will be much more revenue streams possible in the future. So right now we have like companions, like Sebastian said, but I think more skins and dynamic skins or in-game items can be created because AI enabled people to. The UGC is much more easier right now. Like, 3 years ago, if we saw like a meme photo from our community and they actually like draw it with some software, we would say, wow, look at this, how much effort they put in. But right now, a couple of prompts, they're already, it's UGC already, and they can monetize that if they did it properly. So that's one thing. And last thing is interoperability. So I think maybe the AI agents from my world might be applicable to your world or maybe Sandbox's world. So things like that. So I think there are lots of different possibilities and people still haven't tapped into it. But yeah, it's going to be very big.
You mentioned a lot of like important thing, and I love that how you brought out the UGC part is like super important. And I would, because we're running out of time, so I would like Sebastian, like he's also like expert in UGC contents, like economy. So like, would you like to explore more on this part?
Absolutely, like definitely vibe coding and even vibe modding, which is a slight evolution where like instead of building from scratch games with AI, you actually like just reuse part of the engine or the gameplay that's already existent, and then you add content from pre-existing libraries, either made by the AI itself or made by the content creators, and you define certain set of rules, is going to be the future. I see it's both like fun and interactive for people to create their own game, and it's also quite fun and interactive to explore, and it really accelerates the production in a massive way, and that's been until now the main barrier. Like we have like virtual world with a lot of lands to populate, but not enough manpower to create, not even man time to build quality experiences behind. So as it keeps training and it keeps getting better, like the quality of the experience will be more fun. And there is actually like already good proof that people are willing to pay to keep creating with those assistants and tools, because then it's more personal as well. Like it's my game assisted by the AI. So it's really exactly making what I wanted without me thinking about it. Also, I love what you were just saying about like the fact that like we identify the avatars and the NFTs or collection of characters as the real celebrities. We don't distinguish anymore whether it's the agent or the persona. We've done that for a while at Sandbox. We launched Avatar Collection with Snoop Dogg, recently with Casio G-Shock. And people are not saying, I'm not playing with a copy of Snoop Dogg. I'm playing with Snoop Dogg. I'm into his world, I'm with him right now, and so on. And so I do feel like the level of immersion and satisfaction that players are going to get from playing with their favorite characters is going to increase massively with that.
Yeah, thank you for your tag. And then Jason, last question for you. Cause Sandbox is really big, so they can secure really huge eye-catching partnership. But what if for the smaller project they wanted to integrate AI agent in their game? What is the go-to-market strategies? Would you recommend them to start with?
I think first and foremost, they need to first understand what kind of player base do they have, right? Do they have more on competitive players, casual players, or players who just want to play for for fun without spending, right? So after they understand, what are their player base, they are able to customize the kind of AI agents or AI narrative that they want that really fit their player base. So there's no need for us or even for the smaller developers to really expand out and try to reach the wider mass. But what they can do is they just focus on a niche of whatever player base they have. And this is basically something they can do in terms of cost efficiency, right? I'm not a fan of people trying to create big things, oversell their projects and stuff, but rather they should focus more on their own current community.
I love that. And then I love this discussion. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Thanks everyone joining, and thanks all our amazing speakers for providing valuable insight. So if you would like to have a deeper chat with them, catch them after this panel. And thank you so much for your time.